Hey everyone, it's Nicole. Today I'm here to film my August wrap-up. I decided to film this video on my day off. There's quite a few people in the house, so you might hear the TV working downstairs, but I can't do anything about it, and I have to film today because it's long overdue. I've read quite a few books this month, which I'm proud of because I got very lazy since I started the new job. I'd rather watch a TV show or a movie when I get back home, which turned into an ugly habit because all these books are just staring at me and want me to read them, obviously, and I feel ashamed that I bought them and I don't read them. So this month was good for reading. I read 4 books, and I'm going to start with Wishes by Ray Schwab, which is a book that I wanted to read for a while. The hype was on a high level for a very long time since I started booktubing. I really like Victoria Schwab's writing style, and I love her ideas and concepts. I've read the first book in the Darker Shade of Magic series and I loved it. I don't know why I didn't continue with it. I probably have to. So I decided to pick her iconic book, Wishes. It's a story about Victor and Ellie. They're 2 friends that are attending the same university and that both are obsessed with an idea of creating people with supernatural abilities. It starts innocent. Ellie is very interested in this idea and he asks his professor if he can write a thesis on it. But when theory moves to practice, something terrible happens. I'm not going to spoil you what exactly happens because it's actually not written on the back of the book, so it's a spoiler. I loved the complexity of relationships between these 2 characters. It was a beautiful mix of rivalry and love. Basically, these 2 guys had a very interesting friendship where they cared about each other, but at the same time they felt the need to compete with each other as well. I wouldn't call Ellie and Victor great people, both of them weren't. I would say that they both were borderline villains. I think Ray Schwab found a great balance between good and evil, because she managed to make all the characters that we meet in this book great, except maybe from Sydney. I think she was a bit more good than evil. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the exploration of superpowers. It wasn't the typical superhuman type of book. In my opinion, it wasn't even inspired by comics. It was just a dark, gritty novel with very entertaining characters. I will also say that it's a very Slytherin book, because most of the people in this book are certainly Slytherin. I think I'm going to make a full review on this book because there were some cool details that I wanted to discuss, but I don't want to spoil you in my wrap-up, so yeah. I finally picked up Etched in Bone by Anne Bishop. It's the last book in the other series, which are my favorite urban fantasy series of all time. I just love all the characters, I loved the world building. I was very sad to see this book end. I think I was just so attached to these characters. I wanted to read more and more about them, but every series has to end because you don't know when it's going to be too much and when it's going to be annoying. Something like that always happens with TV shows and we don't want that. I enjoyed this book as much as I enjoyed any other book in the series, and I've read some reviews on Goodreads and I am pissed off because people gave this book 2 stars or 3 stars because of one reason. I'm just going to spoil you for a second. It's not a big spoiler, so if you're not opposed to them, don't bother muting me, but if you do, just mute me. I'm going to put something on the screen that's going to say when there's going to be spoilers. Basically, most of the people were complaining that they only got the kiss between Meg and Sam in the end. I was off the rails when I read it. I was furious. I'm still furious because didn't you read the book attentively? Didn't you realize that Meg had some troubling experiences concerning sex? I don't think that she's ready to have it, especially because she was abused in the past and she trusts Sam enough, but they're not at that point yet. The kiss felt natural. It felt like it fit into the narrative. And sex, I'm not sure it would have. That's it. That's the end of the spoiler section. I tried to not fume a lot. So except for the fact that people were extremely inconsiderate in their comments about this book, I actually really enjoyed it. I know that it's a little bit stretched, there's too many unnecessary parts in it. I still enjoyed it. It didn't bother me because I wanted to be with them on their journey as much as I could. Can you cut pieces out of it and it won't make a difference? Yeah, true, you can, but I enjoyed it the way it is. Then I read a non-fiction, more of a self-help book, which was Still Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. He's a writer, I believe, and this is a book that he wrote for other artists and writers and just people of arts who create things. Basically, in this book, he explains why stealing other people's work or other people's ideas is good for you, because you elevate their art and you can see a different angle and explore it in your work. It's very readable, easy to consume, it's very short too. It's basically 10 things you have to know about creativity, and I wouldn't say that I didn't hear those things before, to be honest. Some of the things I've heard before and they are not new to me, so I read them once again. It wasn't annoying or anything. There were some ideas that were great in his book, but also there were some that I didn't agree with, which I think is normal because we all create in different ways and we all have different processes. This book boosts your creativity a little bit and makes you want to create something, to sit and actually write or to sit and actually paint something. And the last book is a reread for me. The Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the illustrated edition. I wanted this book for so long. When people were showing them on BookTube, on their channels, I nearly salivated because I wanted them. And I bought the Russian editions because they were cheaper and I actually had a gift card. This wasn't exactly the plan. I wanted the English ones, but, well, you know, the illustrations are the same. The only problem is the translation. And not that I mind Russian translation, it's that when I was younger I've read the other translation, and now they're pushing this new translation, which is horrible. I'm going to read a few things for you. Feel free to bleed with your ears because it's terrible. Hagrid is translated like Ogrid, but it's not the worst one. Ravenclaw is now Ranzor, which doesn't even make sense at all, and it's so annoying to me because I continue to read the way it's supposed to be and I have to put two things together from context to understand who this character actually is. Professor Quirrell is Professor Strauss. Why would you do this to this precious book? If you had any of those experiences in the past reading Harry Potter in your language, tell me in the comments down below because I feel your pain. I did love the book though. I love the way it was done. I love the illustrations. The sun is going crazy out there. There's a lot of clouds, so the light is changing all the time. This is it, I guess. In the comments down below, tell me which books you read recently. I'll see you in a bit with another video. Bye!